When you take substances to move through and to help you with hardships in your life, are you at a disadvantage compared to those who move through hardships in their life naturally, as in without the use and the help of substances? That's what this video is going to be about, is the whole mess revolved around the use and the aid of substances, particularly psychedelics and cannabis, maybe even ketamine and that kind of stuff. The use of those substances to help us move through negative things within us, all that negative stuff that we have within us. This video is going to be talking about the sort of debate or dilemma of using substances to help us through those hardships compared to doing it, quote unquote, naturally without the help of substances. This is honestly a huge topic of debate, and there's a lot of differing opinions on this kind of stuff, and it's actually something that I've talked about on this channel before. I think of two different videos in particular, our psychedelic hallucinations real video, and my more recent, it was probably a year or so ago, but my more recent video, our drug experiences even real. It's a legitimate thing to look into, and it's something that is definitely debated in this culture. So just yesterday, I was talking with my friend, and we were talking about the use of substances and the liberated states of mind that you can find yourself in working with these substances, and how much they can help us and how much they can allow us to grow and to move through all the negative stuff and to get an alternative look, an alternative perspective on life and ourselves and others and society and all these things. How substances can help us to see the way out, to see the possibility of another way of seeing things. And my friend who I was talking with has extensive experience with substances, not just psychedelics and cannabis, but other things as well, things you would consider not as mainstream in helping you to move through negative stuff in your life. He has experience with a bunch of different substances. And where he's at, which I completely appreciate. I completely appreciate where he's at and how he feels about this. But he was saying, man, psychedelics, acid, cannabis, it's all the same, man. It's just all garbage. And he's like, I would rather learn how to work through that stuff naturally than have to use a chemical to help me get through it. I don't want to have to use chemicals to be able to help myself. I want to be able to do it completely naturally on my own. And like I said, I absolutely respect that, and I absolutely agree with where he's coming from. But with where I am in my life and with what I've experienced in my life, I hold a little bit different of a standpoint on the use of substances as a means of working on ourselves. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm just trying to think of how I would like to put this to you guys. There's something strange associated with altered states of consciousness that are brought about through particular types of chemicals like LSD, DMT, psilocybin, the traditional psychedelics, and even cannabis. And even things like ketamine or MDMA or MDA, those kinds of things. There's a very strange thing that can happen in those substances, in the experience of using those substances, which, to put it completely simply, it can seem like within that experience of being on that substance, you can witness an aspect of yourself, or an aspect of others, or an aspect of life itself, in which you see your own beauty. You see the beauty of your own predicament. You see the love that you share between you and another person. You see the beauty of the mind and the power and the ability of creativity and imagination and passion and compassion. And you can see just why you've been caught in the problem, in the snare of whatever it is that you're experiencing, and you have compassion for it, and you get, it's like being refreshed. It's like a breath of fresh air. You can suddenly see just why you've been the way you have been in your life. Or perhaps you could see why someone else has been the way they've been. You know, maybe someone that was treating you very negatively, and you're in this altered state on this substance, and you suddenly have overwhelming compassion for them, and clear seeing, clear understanding, and deep insight into why they are the way they are, and understanding that they couldn't have not done that, and there's nothing innately wrong with them. Or you could have insight into the beauty of life and nature, and how much of a gift it is to be a part of this life. Or if you're with your friends, you could get this flash of recognizing how beautiful it is to have other beings in your life that you can communicate with and share your feelings, and that understand you and hear you and listen to you. And what I'm describing here is all the kinds of experiences that can happen under the influence of these substances that can allow you to get a step up on the mundanity and the monotony of what we would call the sober plane, where we live in our conditioning, and we live in our habits of thought and emotion and action, where we do the same shit, we think the same shit, we act the same ways, we feel the same ways, nothing new is happening, we're just living in a rut, you know? And in this scenario that I'm talking about, this rut is generally negative, you know? So, here's the thing. We all have shit. We all have stuff that we would just love so much to be able to work through and to conquer and to move out of, and to not even have to do with it anymore in our lives. We all have that stuff. We all have something or other that we would just love to move through. Some people, maybe it's not as dominant of a trait and a factor in their life of this negative stuff, and they're just kind of floating along, and they have this negative stuff that's not really detrimental to them in their lives, but it would still be nice to get rid of it, you know? Other people, on the other hand, have this negative stuff that is an absolute dominance over their daily consciousness and the way they live their life, whether it's sadness or anger or depression or anxiety or stress or whatever it is, you know? Negative outlooks on life, negative feelings within us, negative perspectives, all these things within us that just don't benefit us, and we feel we're stuck, and we feel we can't get through it. All of us have this stuff, and it's all in differing levels of intensities for every single person. Not only is the stuff that every single person has different, maybe similar between certain people, but it has differing levels of intensity and differing magnitudes of effect on our daily lives. We all have the stuff. And not everybody is equipped with the required methods and techniques, understandings, perspectives that are needed to allow them to move through that in a wholesome way, and to not have to live in that bogged down perspective anymore. Not everybody has, as I put it, not everybody is equipped with the strategies and understandings to be able to move through that, I guess you could say, naturally, you know? They've done all the things. They've researched all the things. They've gone to therapy. They've gone to retreats. They've traveled to different parts of the world. They've spent time in nature. They did yoga. They exercised. They changed their diet. They changed their sleeping routine, and they've cleaned their room. They've cleaned their house. They've done all the stuff, but they just can't seem to get beyond this thing that they're experiencing inside. And they feel damned. They feel trapped. They feel like they don't have the ability to move through this thing. Then comes along the use of substances. And that's the kicker right there, is this is going to be highly individualized. Not every individual is going to be able to use these substances to help liberate them from these negative states within themselves. But, as I said, then comes along the use of substances. Whether somebody gets involved with using substances as a deliberate means of working on themselves, or if they're just so bogged down and dragged down by their negative states that they say, you know what, man, fuck it, I'm just going to start doing drugs. You know what I'm saying? Two different types of people. One person's going at it to try to work on themselves. Another person's going at it trying to essentially escape from the reality of their situation. And the interesting thing is that both these types of individuals can experience the liberation that was catalyzed by the substance, which is what I'm talking about in this video. Both of those individuals can experience that liberation. So just to give you an example, someone who's just completely bogged down, let's say they are depressed. They're depressed. And the feelings and thoughts that are backed by that depression are thoughts of the meaninglessness of life. Everything is meaningless. There's no point. And they have no motivation to get up and do anything because it's all pointless. It doesn't mean anything. It's not going anywhere. And they're like, well, I'm born and then I'm going to die. This is pointless. I just want to get this over with, you know. Maybe they're even having thoughts of suicide. Everything feels horrible. They don't feel the passion of love for their significant others and their family and their friends and their pets, and they lose interest in their hobbies, and you know, just the very negative space that we can get into when we are depressed, when we're what we would call depressed. This person has depression. Their friend offers them to take LSD. Let's just use LSD as an example. Says, hey man, we should take LSD together. And the depressed person says, you know, why not? You know, it's all pointless. It's all meaningless. It's, you know what I'm saying? Might as well take LSD, you know? I bet you there's people out there that have done that. So they take LSD, and then the effects of the chemical start to kick in, you know? It kicks in, everything starts looking very strange, the body starts feeling like it's just been turned on and tuned up, and everything jumps into view, and everything is, your vision is doing these beautiful performances of movement and transformation, and the colors are bright, and you know, the music sounds moving and so deep and beautiful. The experience, the mental and physical effects of the experience start to kick in. You start to trip. This person starts to trip. But the interesting part is suddenly, it could start with a thought. It could start with a certain thought of reflecting on something or thinking about how they're depressed or thinking about why they took LSD. Suddenly, they're thrown into this exalted space of wonder where they see the beauty of life. They see the beauty of life. They see the beauty of the person in front of them. Kind of those things I was talking about a little while ago. They see the beauty of this person in front of them. They see how beautiful every little thing is all around them. They think about their past and they see how everything was absolutely fundamentally necessary to get them to this point they are now. And they're absolutely overwhelmed with a feeling of love and gratitude and appreciation for life itself. Not only for life itself, but for their own being. Gratitude for their own being. And they see that, yes, we are born, yes, we are die, but it's okay because this is an absolutely ecstatic mystery to be a part of. Life is grand. Life is beautiful. Life is more beautiful than you could ever possibly imagine in your thinking, troubled mind that you live in every day. This depressed person experiences this liberated space. And I'm just trying to describe to you a scenario where a certain person experiences a certain type of experience through the vehicle of using substances. And that's it right there. Depressed person takes LSD, experiences the wonder and ecstasy of life and the love and compassion that they actually share for others, and the beauty of life and nature and the sequence, the rhythms of life, of things being born and dying, and the seasons coming and going, and the wind and the tides and day and night and everything. They experience the beauty. They experience the mystery. This individual comes out of this experience with an absolutely new outlook on life. A through and through, completely refreshed and rejuvenated outlook on life. This individual will more than likely begin to backtrack into their habitual routines of negativity and depression, which is what we're talking about with this individual in particular. This person will more than likely begin to re-experience that habit energy, that groove that they've lived in for however long they've been living in it. Let's just say they've been living in that negative state for years. That individual is more than likely going to experience the reassertion of that negative stuff. But, and remember, this is a specific scenario. This individual, having come out of this liberating LSD experience, now has within them the memory, the knowledge, the knowing of that space. And they can use that knowing of that space to look at their life and the way they feel in a completely different arrangement, in a completely different pattern. I've heard it put before that taking psychedelics is kind of like just completely jumbling up it's like those little etch-sketch things, and you know, our whole life we're living and we're drawing out this fucking immaculate design of crazy shit, and although it's immaculate, it could very much so be negative, not to our benefit. We're drawing out this incredible design of all these avenues of thinking and patterns and habits and personality traits and all this stuff. Beautiful etch-a-sketch. And then you take something like LSD or DMT or psilocybin or cannabis or ketamine or MDMA or whatever it is, and it completely fucking shakes up that etch-a-sketch. And now there is no structure. There is no structure. And when I talk about the habitual energies of the way we've lived reasserting itself, it's almost as though coming out of this liberating psychedelic experience, it's almost like that etch-a-sketch kind of starts to redraw itself. It redraws itself. But the interesting thing is that you now can witness how your mind and your body is in this habitual way reintegrating its habits. It's reintegrating its negative patterns and its negative ways of thinking and its negative routines and its negative actions and the negative feelings and all those things, you can see it coming back into fruition. And for this being in particular, they may be able to see, why do I have to think about it in that way? Why do I have to think about myself in this way? Why do I have to look at life as if it's like this? What was it? I experienced absolute beauty on that LSD experience. Why is it that now that I'm not on this chemical, I have to look at it in a negative way? It gets your mind moving. It gets your mind opened and able to look at itself. Because we fall asleep into our roles. We fall asleep into our habits and into our personality traits. We fall asleep into the autopilot of what we've learned and been taught and been living out of for however long. And then we're not even present for our life, and we go through the motions of trying to change and work on ourselves, but we're not really sitting down into the seat of our being and taking initiative to change. And you can't blame them, because they don't know how to change. They don't know how to get through that thing, because all they are equipped with, like I said, is that negative shit. All that negative shit, and it's a negative feedback loop, where the one who's trying to get out of it is also indeed the one who's stuck in it. So the one that's trying to get out of it is the very thing that's not moving. So it's not going anywhere, and that's why you feel trapped. But then an experience through psychedelics or cannabis or what have you, it's like you can come up from the maze of your mind. You're down in the maze of the mind, and the walls are way up above your point of view, and you can't see the way out. So you're going this way, and then you hit a wall. So you go that way, there's another wall. So you go that way, ooh, it looks like that's going to lead me to the way out, and then it's another wall. And then you get spun around and turned around, and you don't know left from right, and you don't know the way out. That's how it can be. But then you take a psychedelic substance, or whatever substance, and it can seem like God, like a spirit, like the divine essence of life itself, just grabs the back of your collar and just kind of lifts you up, and you suddenly see the maze of your mind. And not only do you see the way out, like, oh my God, that's the fucking way out, but you see that you've been living down in this labyrinth of thinking and being and habit and all this shit. You didn't even consider that when you were down in the maze. You were just on this mission of, I'm trying to, where the hell am I, man? I'm trying to get through this thing, You didn't even consider that you're in a maze, a labyrinth made of mind. And these psychedelic experiences, these chemically induced experiences, they can give you a different vantage point. They can give you a different vantage point on life, on yourself, on whatever it is. But then the way psychedelic substances work, or substances in general, the way substances work in general is that you take it, you come up, and you come down. It's like bungee jumping. You go down, and then you come back up. You take it, you soar up into that plane, and then the chemical is metabolized, and you come back down into sobriety, normality, mundanity, or depression, anger, sadness, nihilism, whatever it is. But the thing is, you're in a very the potential energy of being in an altered state of consciousness is so great that you can, it's called neuroplasticity in this era that we live in now, where amidst the period of time that you are under the influence of a psychedelic chemical, and it's in your receptors, and you are high as hell, tripping balls, you are out there in the Akash, in the divine. In that period, there is such great immensity of potential energy to completely rewire the way that you look at yourself, the way that you operate, the way that you function, the way that you look at life. You can completely remap everything while in that heightened state of awareness. And then what they call integration in working with psychedelics as a way of bettering yourself and healing yourself. Integration is the process of taking that expanded state of consciousness and that episode you just went through on the psychedelic substance and bringing it down into your daily life and being able to utilize it in day-to-day life, where you're not just thinking, oh, that's just an experience I had, now I'm in reality and my sadness and my anger and my depression and my habits are real, and that was just a hallucinatory drug experience that doesn't actually have any sense of legitimacy to it. Integration is the ability of recognizing that that was real. That was real, very much so real. No less real than this right now. Than you watching this video, than me talking. No less real at all. If not, it was a heightened sense of reality. It was a heightened sense of reality. And not only that, but within that space, you were able to taste the possibility of the potential of yourself. That's it right there. Doing these substances allows you, or can allow you, to taste the possibility of the potential of yourself. Taking these substances can allow you to see the beauty, to see the mystery, to see the potential, to see the divine, to see the spirit, to see how beautiful you are as you are, to see how okay it is that you've done what you've done in your life, that you've lived in the way you have, and that you couldn't have not done what you've done. And it's completely ordained. It's completely worked out in a absolutely divine design. These substances can allow you to see some wild, wild shit about yourself, about others, about society, about life, about consciousness, about God. And what I'm trying to say to you guys in this video is that if you want to be someone that does things naturally meaning not using substances to experience those heightened states and to help you to move through your negative stuff, if you want to be someone that does stuff naturally without the aid of substances, feel free and have at it. You're allowed to do that. But don't get caught up thinking that because you didn't use a substance, you're better and more legitimate than someone who moved through their shit by using a substance. If you're doing stuff naturally to help you move through stuff, don't go on some sort of egoic power trip that you're better than someone who used a substance to get through their stuff. Because I can tell you right now, there's no difference. There's no difference. One person just took this chemical, you're just thinking and doing shit. No difference. There's no more or less reality to how we work through our suffering. We're all here, we're all suffering, we're all trying to work through shit. So if you're doing stuff without the aid of substances, don't point a finger at people that are working through their stuff with the aid of substances. Because that's your own ego trip that you're going on, and I'm sure that ego trip will get in the way of the relieving of your own suffering at some point or other. Don't shit on people that use substances to work through their negativity. I hope I've made that clear that, as I said a while ago, not all of us are equipped with the perspective necessary to see the way out. Like I was saying, we've done all the tactics, we've done all the retreats, we've done all the strategies, we've learned all the stuff, we've gone to all the therapists, we've done all the shit. Exercise, yoga, better eating, all of it. But nothing, there's something, it's not nudging, it's not dislodging. It's not dislodging. And psychedelic substances can sometimes seem to act like a sort of spiritual solvent, where you take this substance and the thing that's lodged in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, the psychedelic can just kind of wash over it and dissolve it and completely allow it to be moved and transformed and transmuted. You can see up above the maze. You see the beauty of life. You see the beauty of reality and yourself. You see the perfection and the harmony. You know, you see the depth of bonding between you and other people. Maybe you make amends with somebody that you've let go out of your life or you were mean to in the past, and in this heightened state, you see their beauty and you see their innocence, and you come to them and say, hey man, I'm sorry, you know? Like I was saying, the potential in these heightened state of awareness is divine. And the ability that it has for, you know, talking on a physiological level, the potential of the neuroplasticity, the rewiring of the neural pathways in which we operate, while in these heightened states of awareness brought about through the vehicle of substances, is absolutely profound. And it's also an area of research that is bursting at the seams in this time that we live in. Things like MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, using things like MDMA and psilocybin, and I'd imagine at some point DMT and that kind of stuff, to help people with PTSD, help people with depression, help people with terminal illnesses that are literally going to die soon, to help them get a feeling of refreshment and rejuvenation and a different outlook on their life. These substances help us. These substances allow us to taste the possibility of our own potential. There's nothing wrong with using substances to see the way out, to help you. But the kicker in here is that you don't want to get in a position of only being able to see the beauty when you're high on this chemical. That's the kicker. That's where I feel like the main bias and negative connotation towards using substances comes from. Is you take LSD, you take psilocybin, you take MDMA, you smoke cannabis, whatever it is, and you're brought up into this liberated space where you see the beauty of life. Then you come down and you feel all your negative shit reassert itself, and then you think, man, I should take LSD again. I should smoke weed again. I should take psilocybin again. Man, I want to take MDMA again. That was beautiful. That's the snare. That's the trap in working with chemicals. It's essentially the same energy that gets us stuck in habitual routines, where we eat junk food, or we just all the negative habits that we have. You know, we watch TV, or we scroll, or we masturbate, or we eat shitty food, or whatever our negative habits are. That habit energy is the same thing that once it's experienced a state beyond itself, where it saw its own beauty through the use of substances, it says, man, I want to take that again. I want to experience that beauty again. But these substances aren't meant to be used in a habitual way. Try it. You experience liberation through a cannabis experience. Try to maintain that. Try to maintain that liberated space. You might get it to happen a few more times consecutively as you continue to use the substance, but then your body is going to develop a tolerance to it. It's not going to seem as divine. It's not going to seem as liberating and insightful as it once was. It's going to get to the point where it's not even really having an effect on you. You know, I smoked cannabis for 9 years, and it got to a point where basically nothing was happening, you know? Where it was my default to be high on cannabis. And now I don't smoke weed, and now when I do smoke, you know, it's not like I'm like, I don't smoke weed, but when I do smoke weed, it's such a beautiful and powerful experience. and my mind just fractals through wonder and imagination and creativity and passion and deep connection and bonding and interest and sharing and love and beauty and anxiety, even the feeling of like, oh wow, this is all crazy, man, you know. Cannabis is such a different spirit to me now. I don't know why, but if I were to smoke, I would develop a tolerance, and it wouldn't be much of anything anymore. And I'm assuming you could do the same thing with LSD and psychedelics and that kind of stuff, but that's pretty wild, man. If you develop a tolerance to psychedelics so much so that nothing's even really happening when you do those substances, that's pretty wild, but it can happen. It can happen. These substances aren't meant to be used habitually. When you take these substances habitually, you're coming from the same place of the trap that you were trying to get out of and that you saw the way out of while on that substance, you know? Divine intervention is brought into you through taking this substance. You see the way, you see your mind, you see the beauty, you see the liberation and the freedom. And then you come down and you distill back down into the suffering, bogged down, confined, and constricted ego that we are and we live in, and we say, man, I want to take LSD again. That was beautiful. Watch out. When you do that, watch out. Because these substances aren't supposed to be they're not Band-Aids. They're not like... They're not this additive that you use to then be better. There's something that allow you to see, as I've said multiple times, to taste the possibility of the potential of yourself. There's something that allows you to see that, yes, within you is such unbounded love and beauty and wonder and creativity and motivation, the pure driving force of life itself, the spirit of life itself lies within you right now. That's what these substances can show you. But then they go away, your habits reassert themselves, and rather than thinking in the traditional habitual way that we do of, man, I want to go do that substance again, man. I'm caught up in my shit. I want to take that again, you know? That being able to see that potential in a mature way should be looked at as, how do I integrate this into my life? I'm not asking to be blissed out all the time. I'm not asking to be in complete ecstasis all the time. How do I take what I learned in that psychedelic experience and bring it down into my day-to-day life to help me not get as lost into the drama of my mind? And it's hard. That's why we feel so inclined to go and take the substance again. Is because we know that the substance allows us to chemically, as I was describing it, the spiritual solvent, it allows us to completely override and dissolve the bullshit and just be in harmony, be the one. But then it solidifies, it re-solidifies as the drug goes away, and we're back down to our normality, you know? So this whole topic is pretty deep, pretty complex, and the only reason I say that is because a lot of different people believe in different stuff. One person thinks you should do it without substances, another person thinks you can do it with substances. I'm one of those people, the way that I would put this in a concise way. If you've done the research and you've done the work and you've actually taken the initiative to try and work on yourself to help you in your life, but you just can't seem to move beyond something or other, and you feel inclined to use a substance like a psychedelic or cannabis or whatever to allow you to get a step up on your bullshit, by all means, utilize these substances, which I believe are spirits. Utilize these spirits as a way, as a vehicle to seeing the way out for yourself and allowing yourself to heal. But if you're going to take that route, you need to implement integration and practice into learning how to bring that down into your life and live from that space of beauty. Because if not, as I've been talking about, you're going to get caught in a snare of using that chemical as a crutch, where you're not healing, you're just constantly going into this expanded state where you see the potential that you could be healed, and then you come back down into your nonsense, and then you want to just go back out. You just want to keep bungee jumping. You just want to keep going out. So if you're going to use substances to help you, you need to also be willing to help yourself and learn how to integrate what it is that you learned in that exalted, expanded state of consciousness, which is very hard, But equally as hard, at times, can be doing everything naturally, And the reason I do the quoting on naturally is because taking a substance or not taking a substance, it's all natural. It's all natural. You are life. You are here on earth. Everything is life and earth. What you do is not unnatural. You can't not be natural, You can do stuff without taking a chemical, but that's no more or less natural than taking a chemical or not. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to go down the route of using chemicals to help you, you need to also be willing to learn how to integrate that and not become dependent on what that chemical does for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's really all I have to share in this video. I hope you guys got the point of what I was saying here. There's nothing wrong with using psychedelics and cannabis, ketamine, MDMA, MDA. Nothing wrong with using those kinds of things to help you. If you're doing them for fun, that's your trip. You can do that. But if you're doing these things to help you in a spiritual way, in a physical way, in a mental way, go for it. But be willing and be ready to realize that the chemical isn't going to do everything for you. It's not your parent. You need to help yourself. You need to integrate and learn and practice what you've learned every single day, which is hard work. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you understood, and I will be back with more. Namaste.